Good morning. I'm Rabbi Ron Friedman of Temple Israel in Boston, and this is the Jewish Perspective. On this morning's program, we'll hear from Alex Goldstein about the Boston Maccabi Rugby Club, and Rima Zelfand will give us some insight into her new role as CEO of Jewish Family and Children's Service. But we begin this morning with a new book called Today I Am a Woman, Stories of Bat Mitzvah Around the World. Joining me this morning are the two co-editors of this most interesting work, Shulamit Reinharz and Barbara Vinick, who are both affiliated with the Hadassah Brandeis Institute at Brandeis University in Waltham. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, how did this book come about?
Well, I think the proper place to start the story is with the creation of the Hadassah Brandeis Institute, the only institute in the world that studies the relationship between Jews and gender, or the intersection between the two. And we've done studies on a wide variety of topics, and Bat Mitzvah was one of the foci for a few years. The first book we published on that topic was called The J-Girls Guide. I don't know if you've seen that, with the Jewish lights, and it was really directed to young girls as they think about whether or not Judaism is of any significance to them as adolescents. And it turns out that adolescence has been thought about a great deal in our sources, and that was fun to put together. I did it with two other people. And then Barbara Vinick, who is a research associate at the HBI, proposed doing a book on Bat Mitzvah that relates to her subject, her interest, I should say, in the organization Kulanu, which she might want to tell you about.
Please tell us about Kulanu too, Barbara.
I'm on the board of Kulanu, which is an organization that helps isolated and newly emerging Jewish communities around the world. And I had been in touch with people around the world, Jewish communities, and when Shula, I have to say, it was her brainchild to do the Bat Mitzvah around the world, and I thought to myself, I don't think this is going to work, because honestly, I thought that Bat Mitzvah was just an American ceremony, that it had started there, and that I really wouldn't find very much around the world. Well, I was completely mistaken.
Not only was she mistaken, but it turns out that the United States is not the first place in which a Bat Mitzvah took place at all. It actually, there's a big debate. Now, now that Bat Mitzvah is so popular, people are vying to be considered the first. And there's some people who say it began in Italy, and there's some people who say it began in Russia, but the Italy story is very interesting.
Well, we know that the first Bat Mitzvah in the United States took place 90 years ago in New York City. Judith Kaplan was a daughter of Mordecai Kaplan, the founder of the Reconstructionist branch of Judaism. And he had his diaries, which have been published, tell us that he went to Italy a few months before his daughter's Bat Mitzvah, and he saw...
Actually, before his daughter's birthday. He wasn't even thinking about Bat Mitzvah
Right,
yet.
and he saw a girl go up to the bima with her father, and he said a prayer, and the rabbi blessed her. And when he came back, he thought that this would be a good thing for his daughter. And that's how it got started. It was a very simple ceremony.
We think it's very important for American Jews to realize how much we can learn from other countries to benefit ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that is actually the perspective of the Hadassah Brandeis Institute, which has as its mission to develop fresh ideas about Jews and gender worldwide. And we always take an international perspective.
I want you to do two things, if you would. First, let's, for anyone who mightn't know, translate Bat Mitzvah and explain what it is. And the second is to share a couple of stories from around the world.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is, and she can tell you about the stories. The phrase Bat Mitzvah is actually two words, Bat and Mitzvah. And Bat means daughter. So if I have a daughter, I have a Bat. If I have a son, I have a Ben. That's just a normal Hebrew contemporary word. Mitzvah is a good deed. some people just translate it as a commandment, because these are things we're supposed to do, but they're things that actually are good for the world. For example, helping other people is a mitzvah. Visiting people who are sick is a mitzvah. So a person becomes a bat mitzvah by deciding she's going to be part of the Jewish family, the Jewish world, and take on these obligations, take on the responsibility to do good deeds. In some traditions, there are very few mitzvot, which is the plural, that women or girls are supposed to carry out, and they're called chana, which stands for chala. They're supposed to do something with that. Nida, which is about the mikvah, and hadlakat nerot, which is to light candles. But we don't believe that. We believe that all 613 commandments that men can do, except brit milah, which is circumcision, girls can do too.
Great. And around the world.
Yes, well, we have stories from 78 countries, from every continent in the world, well, except Antarctica. And
we're working on that.
Right. And I have to say that the first story I got was not very encouraging, because it was from a girl in Colombia, in Latin America, who said, I had a bat mitzvah. I didn't like any of the girls in my bat mitzvah class. It was a group bat mitzvah. They didn't like me, and all I can remember is that I wore a puffy, ugly dress.
Period.
And that was it. So I thought, oh my God. But as it turns out, I got wonderful stories from around the world, from people who remembered their bat mitzvah from years and decades past, and from more recent bat mitzvah. The girl on the cover is from Italy, and she had her bat mitzvah in the year 2000. I think the story that probably touched me the most is one from Italy, and it's from a woman who unfortunately has passed away in the last few years. She wrote about her going into hiding with her family during World War II, and in the countryside in Italy. And she had put her bat mitzvah album for safekeeping under some hay in the hayloft. And the Germans came, and they were looking for people hiding, and they took their bayonets, and they went into the hayloft, and luckily they did not find her album, which was very dear to her. No, and afterwards she was so afraid that she burnt it.
Oh my.
And so she doesn't have any pictures of her bat mitzvah.
We received so many stories, because we have, both Barbara and I have contacts all over the world, that we really selected the most interesting ones. You can imagine how difficult it was to choose the one from the United States, or the ones from the United States.
There are several.
So just one example is a story of a daughter and a mother who had their bat mitzvah on the same day. And just all sorts of unusual circumstances.
And actually, I was very thrilled this past, about 2 weeks ago, to be in Cuba, and I presented the book to the president of the Sephardic Center, one of the 4 synagogues that we visited. This was in Havana, and the story in the book is from the previous president of that synagogue, writing about his daughter's bat mitzvah. He has since emigrated along with his daughter to Israel, as so many Cubans have.
You know, one thing people can do with this book is learn just about what's
First they have to buy it.
Well, yes, that I assume.
Yes, it's Indiana University Press.
But they can also pick it up and look for a country that they're going to visit, and contact the people there and visit them and meet them. So we also think of it as a way to bring the Jewish world together.
It's a fabulous success. There are not very many works that combine true deep scholarship with real popular appeal, but yours certainly does, and I congratulate you. Mazel tov.
Thank you
very much.
What an accomplishment. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
We'll take a short break and return with Jewish Family and Children's Service.